Good evening and welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm Steve Leahy. How are you doing? All right. I have nothing to talk about tonight. I do have stuff to talk about tonight, but there are no new items, no show and tell, so we're going to get right into this painting. But I do want to say a huge thank you to last week's super thanks, which came from Brian Moore, Honey, Grumpy, Gary Shees, and Bug. Thank you so much, you guys. That's amazing. Yeah, nothing new. Nothing to show you. I'm still working on a bunch of stuff like that airbrush holder and the point system. Grumpy actually is the first one to pass 80 points. Brian Moore is right behind him. I'm just about to get it so I can put that graph on my website so you guys can check it. I just got to do a little bit of maintenance on it, but that's happening too. So it's an extra way for you to get a painting by hanging out and doing stuff with us. But that's all I got. So let's look at some paintings and I'll say hello to everyone. That sounds good. Oh no. That's what happens when you... Oh, you know what I did? Yeah, you got to turn cameras on for that to work. And maybe that camera. And you got to plug that one in. Can you tell? I have no idea what's going on. I'll figure it out, I promise. Yeah, you guys think it's all easy, don't you? It's not. It's crazy. There we go. That one's good. That one's good. That one's good. All right. Awesome. Yay. All right. And I'll say hello to everyone. Brian Moore, you crazy man. Thank you so much. I'm going to switch over to do the thank you. If I can figure it out. Let's do that because it takes a minute. And then that. And then that. And then there I am. And then I'll say hello to everyone because I'll get the comments over here. We don't need palette cam or anything today, so that's going to be good. And we're ready. Yeah, so I am not prepared, but that's okay. All right. Dan Mayer, what's up? Kyle Shees, what's going on? Rhea, your painting went out today, so you should have it in about 3 days. Kelly, good evening. Ian, how's it going? Todd, what's happening? Oh, wait. What am I hearing? Oh, I know what I'm hearing. This is the volume's on that. Yes, thank you, Brian. You're awesome. And cousin Mark, what's up? Yay. And Auntie Paula, that's awesome. And Mike Stevenson, what's happening, buddy? Wayne, good evening. I'm glad you're here. Yes, Aria, yours and James Cully's went out today. So I'm sorry. I usually get them out like the day after or the couple days after. But I was running behind a little bit. So, but it's on its way, like 3 days to where you are. All right, let's look at the new ones. I have 3 for you today. There was only going to be 1. But I ended up pushing through and came up with 3. Is he here yet? Tony D, what's up, buddy? Rick Lotta, hello. There he is. There's Ian Hart. I picked people who haven't won yet, just because I felt like it. So the first one is, again, Ian Hart. Ian had a bunch of cool suggestions, but one of the things he suggested is close to my heart, which is anything aviation. So he asked for a Supermarine Spitfire, and this is what I came out with. I do have another Spitfire painting in the 543s, but I figured I'd have this one be like the Mustang painting. And there's that one. There we go. Maybe a little bit of light on that. There we go. And this one is it's hard to read, but it says Miss 543 on there. So I've talked about this plane before because it is amazing. It's the amazing World War II British fighter. It was designed as a short-range, high-performance plane. So the British knew they were going to be using it primarily against the Germans. So they just needed to get across the channel, really. So it was designed to have real short range, but extremely high performance. The plane was nicknamed, the Spitfire was named after the chairman of Spitfire's daughter, actually used to call her his little Spitfire. And they built just over 20,000 planes during the war. There are only about 240 that survive today. Interesting fun fact, the planes were fitted with beer kegs after D-Day, and they were dropped, or not dropped, but delivered to the troops after D-Day, which is kind of fun. And another fun fact, in the Battle of Britain, you would think this amazing plane had the highest shoot-down count, but it was not. It was the Hawker Hurricane. So there is your Spitfire. And I caught, since the other painting, I think it's called Spitfire, this one's called Supermarine Spitfire. There we go. I can talk. It's fine. Everything's good. Patricia, what is good? Michael McClung, what's happening, buddy? I gotta have a free weekend now, Michael, so I can watch you again. Saturday I wasn't around because I drove up to Ashtabula to drop off my painting. Woo! So that's good. All right, next one. Wayne, I'm glad you're here. So Wayne has been asking for 2 different paintings pretty consistently. I started pulling together stuff for the first one, but I aborted pretty quick because it was going to be too much. So one thing he's been asking for is a diamond encrusted skull. So I started with this stupid AI generated skull, but I was going to change it and put diamonds all over it. And yeah, it would have taken me it would have been ridiculous. It would have taken me way too long. And my biggest fear, not that it would have taken a long time, I was afraid that if I didn't spend enough time on it, it would look like trash. And so I didn't want to do that. So I kind of canceled that. And I did his second suggestion, which he's been asking for a while, which is a 1955 orange Chevy Bel Air convertible, which is fun. I've talked about the Tri-5 Bel Airs. There were, the 3 years that they made these, that this car is absolutely, completely iconic for the 50s. The 55 is just a beautiful car. One interesting note, and Wayne can, since I know Wayne knows everything about these cars. Wayne, orange isn't a color, is it? Because I went to go look up orange as far as the original colors. The only thing I could find was like an autumn something, which is like a copper color. And then the only orange car I could find was Cheech Marin's 55, which is more like a coral color. So anyway, I made an orange 55, and that's how this one came out. Yeah, this would be, Chris, hello, and yes, cheers. This would be a great car to have. So that is my 55, and I just call that Orange Colored Sky. And that is from the 1950 song. Doris Day did it. Nat King Cole did a cover of it. So it's a cool song if you get a chance. I needed a 1950s song with orange in it, and that's what I came up with. Honey, what's up? Yay. Non-original color. That's what I thought, Wayne, because it was driving me nuts, because I'm like, should it be that autumn color? But I'm like, that's awful, like coppery color and like almost brown. And I'm like, that can't be what he meant. I'll just take a chance and make it orange. So I'm glad I did. It's your world. If you want an orange, you get that. Yeah, that's great and everything, but it's Wayne's suggestion, so I kind of wanted to make sure it was right. So if I made something up, yeah, if it was mine personally, yeah, I would have done whatever I wanted. Speaking of orange, I'm having the last of my Wisconsin bales. I really haven't had very many of these. Actually, this is the first one. It's from Surly Brewing Company. It's Mr. Surly's, and it's Orange Whip Cream Ale. It's not bad. Again, I always get afraid with flavored beers. And this one is very, like if you're not a big fan of beer and you want something more like flavory, then this would be a good choice for you. You almost can't taste the ale in it. It's very creamy orangey. So there you go. So there. See how I segued there? Pretty cool, huh? All right, last one. If you are, I'm going to keep saying it. If you're a member here, you already know what this one is because you saw the time lapse already. I had an absolute blast with this one. So our buddy Tone is a airbrush last week. At the very end, asked for Bozo the Clown. Here's my Bozo. Gosh, growing up with this thing, you wonder why our generation is so screwed up. Now, I've done a few things to this Bozo. I gave him zombie eyes and made his mascara run. But that's all I did to him. This is pretty much how he looked. Well, one of them. So Bozo the Clown was introduced in 1946. He was on radio originally and then transitioned to TV in 1949. So for me, it seems like a lot of cities had their own Bozo, if that makes sense. The TV show was syndicated, and then it ended up going to a bunch of different towns. So Frank Avarouche, one of the local Boston, I don't know how to describe him, personalities, I guess. He played Bozo from 1959 to 1970, so a lot of the reruns that I saw Bozo had him. But other famous actors that played Bozo were Willard Scott, the Today Show weatherman during the 80s, and Carol Spinney. Now, you may not know Carol Spinney by his name, but Carol Spinney went on to play Big Bird and Oscar the Grouch on Sesame Street, which is kind of cool. So again, so that's my zombie Bozo, and I call that Bozo with a capital Z for zombie. And if you want to see how I painted this, it's going to be on my YouTube channel in the time lapse tomorrow. Or if you're a member, you can go watch it right now. But don't do that because we're painting. So there you go. So there's your 3. If you are, well, it's not really a good shot of the 3, but you get the idea. So if you are interested in winning one of these, you could just type in 543. Not one of these, but well, I guess one of these. Just type in 543 and give me a suggestion for one of these ideas for these paintings. I don't even have to choose it. If you make the suggestion, you're automatically in to win the next week. And then we randomly draw a name of everyone who has not won one. And you can win one. So there you go. All right. Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Who did I say hi to, or who did I miss? I get everyone? I think I got everyone. If I missed you, please say hello. All right, let's get to it. So we're going to start from scratch on this. We're not going to get too far. We're going to block some of this in, but I thought it'd be fun to really show you like from ground zero. I mean, you could see this process with the Open Studio series that I do on Wednesday nights. But this will be a good, for those who aren't checking out the Open Studio and just want to see it happen live. And what we're doing is we're doing a landscape painting, which will be this way actually. This is an 8x10 piece of clayboard. The one thing that I'm not going to do to this that I normally do is base this with Autoborn Sealer, that white primer. And I'm doing that, honey, thank you so much. I'm doing that because I want to show you that you can paint directly on this surface. I choose to do the Autoborn Sealer because every once in a while with this stuff, they do a great job of prepping this. And this is, again, the name of the company is Ampersand. And working on this prepared board, is something that's been done for a very, very long time. But Ampersand basically took this idea and just went nuts with it. These are archival, they're museum quality boards. They're not very expensive, so you can get these and be, it's not going to break the bank or anything, but you can automatically have something that's extremely high quality, which is really cool. But what I was going to say was this one looks really good. What I think they do is I think they use a DA sander on this, one of those orbital, multi-orbital sanders, and sometimes you can see the little swirlies in it, which is why I use the Autoborn Sealer. It seals up all those micro scratches and then I just sand and it's ready to go. This one looks pretty good, so I'm not going to worry about it. But yeah, that's it. Todd asks for the P-51 Mustang, and of course the P-51 Mustang is America's version of the Spitfire and would not have had the reputation it did. In fact, it probably would have been an utter failure if they didn't strap that Rolls-Royce Merlin engine in it. Once they did that, that thing was a beast. Grumpy, what's up? I'm just reading your comments. Yeah, there's a lot of Aussie ones. I got to do something for that. All right. So the first step is the image, what we're working from. The place in this needed to be very specific. Sometimes, it could just be a landscape of whatever, but this has to be a real specific thing. So I was going back and forth, ended up finding, I was sent a pretty cool picture, but after looking at the picture, and I'll show it to you, this is what I originally came out with. So it's the painting, it's going to be of this gazebo. This is a painting picture that I was going to work from, but when looking at it, I kind of felt that it's more of like, if I do it this way, it's going to be more of like an illustration and not a painting. You know, it really features this gazebo. It's how I would do maybe a 543, right in the dead center, with even space all the way around. You know, the even the stairway is right in the middle, and you know, no clouds or anything. So it's like I said, it's very like, this is the gazebo. And so I started thinking, you know, can we do something different with this? So I went online and I found this amazing photographer, New England photographer. His name is Tobey Maguire. It's not Spider-Man, but every time you type in Tobey Maguire photography, you get the Spider-Man. But here, let me show you his website, or I'll give you a quick, hold on. It's spelled different too. So it's Tobey Maguire, this Tobey Maguire. So take a screenshot of that. He's got great photos. He's been all over the world, but it seems like he's New England based because he's got a lot of New England photos. And in a quick reverse search for this gazebo, I found a photo from him that's just, ooh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted this one. That's just really perfect. So here's the same gazebo, but it's at sunset and it's from farther away. So this now feels more like, now the gazebo is certainly the star of the show, but now it's not like an illustration of the gazebo. It's a landscape. There's like this cool diagonal that happens with the trees. You can see a lot of the rest of the park that's around here, which is great. You are looking at the back side of this gazebo, which I was kind of like, should I do that? But you're looking west and the sun is setting here. The sun is actually right here. So this is going to be a much better painting overall. So this is the one I went with. Now, when I work with a photograph from another photographer, I always get permission, or I buy the rights to use the photograph. I've sent him an email. I haven't heard back from him. I'm willing to buy the image. It's not a problem. He only sells this image on items. He doesn't have a use type of thing. So I sent him an email, told him what I was doing. And hopefully he's going to say, okay. If he comes back and says, no, you can't use it at all, then I'll have to, switch everything around. But that's not a big deal. Obviously, I want permission to use it. This is important all the time. However, if you're doing something for someone you know and you're not making any money on it, again, it's a great idea to do this all the time because you're giving credit to the person whose artistic eye saw this originally. So it's always good to get permission, and it builds those relationships with photographers that you'll be glad you have later on when you need a photograph. So do it all the time. Now, from a legal standpoint, if I was doing this and I wasn't selling it, I was doing it just for me, and I just wanted to use a picture off the internet, and I'm just going to paint it for me, no one's going to come after you for that. Intellectually, it's not the greatest idea, again, because you're using someone else's basically artwork with the photography. But from a legal standpoint, you're not going to get called out for that. If I did this painting and then sold prints, or I sold the original for whatever, then that becomes a big problem because now I'm making money on someone else's idea. So you don't ever want to do that, ever. And you want to be upfront with people. If you ask someone for permission to use their photography, more times than not, I've just had photographers say, yeah, definitely use it. Just send me a picture and show me what you did. If I'm going to be selling the painting, I tell them I'm going to be selling the painting. And if they want me to pay for the right to use the photograph, that's amazing, and I do that. So that's what I got to say about that. So this is weird that I start something without permission, but I'm totally prepared to, figure this out if he says no. So anyway, that's it. That's what I got. London Pen, what's up, buddy? What else we got? Everyone's cool. All right, good. All right, so how do I get this onto this, and how am I going to deal with this? So, did I do that? No, I didn't do that. Shoot. I wanted to, I was going to bring over the photograph of this one in color so you could see it, but I didn't do that. So I'm going to have to talk you through this. So it is sunset. The sky is very orange, like typical sunset. These clouds are AI generated. I did this in Photoshop. This is why AI still sucks. I typed in add clouds to this basically, and all the variations it gave me were garbage, including this one. But it gave me a good idea of, like the style of clouds that might be good. I am going to, add clouds, but we're not going to do that, tonight. What else? Yeah, I wanted to, shoot, should I do that? All right, we're going to take like a 5-second break. You guys are going to talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to get that photo because you really need to see it for the next part. Chris, thank you. I will take that Lamborghini for the weekend. I don't have any insurance though, so there you go. All right, talk amongst yourselves. Give me 5 seconds. I'm just going to copy this photo so that I can bring it over to show you guys. Fortunately, it's right here. Almost done. Almost done. Thought I did everything for this, but I didn't. All right, I got it. Again, you kind of need to see the photo to know what's going to happen here. So let's get this in there. And this in there. X34 land speeder with big block mode. That's an awesome idea. Bryce Canyon is awesome idea. Kelly Drake, hello. Stream froze. We're okay here. Grumpy, if... Oh, it didn't freeze. I just wasn't here. Sorry. All right. Let me show you this picture now, because I got it. There it is. All right, here's what the photo looks like. So you can get an idea of what's going on here. So the way I kind of think about something like this before I get to putting any paint down is how I'm going to paint this. And what I try to do in my head is I try to block things off. So I take a minute and just kind of, as Mr. Bean so wonderfully puts it, I sit and I look at the painting. So this is what you do. And for me, generally working from back to front is the way to go. So usually the sky is always first. And then what I do is I look at the colors that are underneath each section. So a good example of that is the trees in the background. Now you think trees are green, right? But if you look real close at those trees, they're really black. And then they have these little groupings of green on top of them, right? So that's what I kind of look at. The same thing actually happens with the grass as well. And this is something that I see a lot with people kind of just starting and getting into it. You think, again, your head says green, grass is green. So you immediately go to grab the green and then you paint all the grass in, and it looks very thin and not substantial, because if you really look at that grass, it's really black underneath, or really dark green. So those are the things I kind of look at, and I'm trying to think of it in big blocks. The gazebo itself is what it is. So again, you can do the same thing with the gazebo. There's the underlying average brick color down below. The white parts of it, are pretty much what it is. And that the roof is that like slate blue color underneath. So those are the things I kind of look at. So that's what kind of gets me started on what to paint. So first off is the sky. And you notice the sky does what only a good sky can do, because nature loves to drive us nuts. Orange and blue are complementary colors. They don't like to be mixed, but this sky is orange to blue. So it's a good place to start. Now you can see the sunset too, which is why I love this photo so much. I think it's going to be really good. So, all right. So now you get the kind of layout. So how do you take that idea and transfer it to this? Now there's lots of ways to do that depending on how you're going to attack this. I'm not going to draw this whole thing out on here. That's one way to do it. So you can do a bunch of ways. You can put graphite on the back You can use Sorrel paper, which is this stuff. Some people call it Sarrel paper, but I've always heard it's Sorrel. You can use this stuff. It's basically just like the old-timey carbon paper, but it's got graphite pencil dust instead of whatever that waxy graphite stuff was. Dread Effects had a really cool idea too that I just saw. He used pastel dust, which is really neat too. Anything chalky, is a really great thing. You spread it all over the back, and then you line this up, and then you use whatever. I like to use a ballpoint pen, which I can't find right now. But use a ballpoint pen, and you trace everything, and then when you pull this up, the drawing is on here, right? So I don't need to do that with this one because there's too much going on for that, and it's a smaller size painting at 8x10. So while there'll be some freehand stuff, there will be a lot of masking. So that's the other thing to kind of think of. If this is a wide open painting, it'll be more just like kind of draw it on there and just paint it, But there's a lot more tighter elements to this. So we're going to do it a little bit differently. But we're definitely going to start with the sky. All right, so again, I work from back to front. So the farthest part that's away is the actual sky. The clouds I'm not going to worry about right now because I'm going to paint those on top of the sky. So the sky is the first thing to go. But the thing I got to figure out first is like where to put the sky, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up. It doesn't have to be super exact, but the closer you are, the better. And I'm going to use the copy for this. And again, I could use a Sorrel. Actually, should I use a Sorrel? You want to see that? No, because I think I've shown you the Sorrel before. Let me show you this way. Enzo, what's up? Okay, so I've got a couple magnets holding this in. If you don't have a steel board like I do, you can just tape this at the top, and so it's hinged. But make sure it's where it roughly should be, and you'll be in good shape. And then I want to grab a pencil. I said I want to grab a pencil, which I threw on the floor. Oh, I just realized I don't have the microphone. There we go. That should be much louder. How many photocopies do you need to play with? Honey, this one, not many. I have 3 photocopies for this. Now that may change for the gazebo, but I don't think it's going to, because a lot of the gazebo stuff is paintbrush work. So a lot of this is just paintbrush. All the trees in the back, all the grass, which is going to take forever, is paintbrush. So I don't have to make a whole bunch of copies like I normally do. But that's an excellent question. So on a 543, I use a bunch of copies. I'll use 8 to 10 copies on a 543. But on a painting like this, and even Island Creek, there were no copies. That was all done the way I'm about to show you. So there's only 1 copy for that. All right, so what I do is I just kind of first there are obviously trees here, right? Yeah, you guys, I'm still going to use this camera. I don't want to get the close-up one yet because it's too close. But there are trees here, but you can see through them. And this tree is a good example of that too. You can see, what was that? Oh, I know what that was. You can see through this tree. So, what I'm doing is I'm picking the trees that you can't see through. It's because I'm concentrating on the sky. The worst thing you could do is, not paint the sky behind this tree. That would suck because then now you'll never match that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of get a feel for where that landscape, the horizon is. And I'm just going to really lightly just kind of sketch out where that is. And now I got to the more opaque trees. So I'm going to come back in, and again, they're trees, so I don't have to be super accurate. I'm also ignoring the gazebo for now. Although I probably could block it off, but Same thing up here, this top edge of the trees, you can kind of see through it. So I'm going to come down a little bit like here. So I don't, so the only thing I'm really kind of worrying about is opaque areas. I don't have to worry about the grass or anything because I'm really just concentrating on the sky right now. Javier, halfway to showtime. Perfect. You will be getting paid for this painting. No, I won't be. It's not acceptable. We'll figure something out, Mark. All right. Mark, I also have another idea for this. We talked about the dates on this. Because of the way this painting is going and the bushes are going to be really small, the plants, well, let me show you. The plants are now really small in this. We talked about kind of hiding those dates in the bushes. I was thinking down the bottom, like just written in like maybe gold metallic, the dates and then 30th anniversary, you know, really classy, almost like old, almost like Constitution like writing, you know, really classy, but gold, so it'll stand out on the green, and just, I think it'll look really, really good. But we'll talk about that when we get there. All right. So now I've got, can you see that? This really faint outline. So all that does is tell me how far I have to come down with the sky. It doesn't have to, again, like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be, you know, so I don't paint the sky over the whole thing and, you know, spend a bunch of time I don't need to. Wait, what else did I miss? Halfway to showtime, I got that. Okay. All right, so I'll show you this one more time because now we're talking about the sky. So there are two things, again, going on with this. There's the blue and the orange. Again, blue and orange don't mix, because if you do blue and orange, you can get a weird gray. So we got to be careful of that, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So we're going to start with the orange. Now you would think, again, take a look at that orange down near the tree line. That is red oxide. That is why I love red oxide as orange, because it is the most natural orange there is. The blue is kind of going to be a black. These are two things I kind of think about, like what's going to make up the base colors for this. So the bottom is going to be red oxide. The top, see how cool that is? It doesn't have a lot of green in it. It's not like a tropical sky. It's more of a New England sky, which is kind of a grayish blue. So I got to pick a blue that's going to not have any green in it. That's especially true because if I get that close to the yellowy orange, it's going to turn really green. So I don't want that. So I kind of think in my head, okay, you know, I need a real cool blue and a real orange. So now getting back to this guy. The orange is orange, but I'm not going to just take orange and start spraying because, well, I'll show you why. Because that would be a problem. So we're going to grab a little bit of white because you can actually set this up to work a little bit better by adding the orange to it. Wait, what did I miss? Oh no, you talking about poop? Yeah, nice poop puns. You guys are making me happy. All right. So I've got opaque white in here now, a good amount of that. And I'm going to start with the red oxide. I should open up my new ball of red oxide, but I got a little bit left in this. So why do I add it to white? Why don't I just spray the red oxide on there? If I do that, then what I'm going to do is when I get the orange to what I want as a saturation color, there's going to be little tiny, almost like pixelation of just the red oxide. And I don't want that. I want this really smooth transition between the orange to the blue. So if I just use a red oxide, I'll have a nice deep orange here, and then it'll get pixelated as it gets up into the blue, and that's not what we want. So I'm going to start with basically a pale version of that orange. And I'm going to do the same thing with the blue. So here it is right here. It's actually not as pale as I thought it was going to be. I'll show you right there, but it's going to work. Now the next question is, I know this is going a lot slower because we're talking about it all. The next question I always get is, how long does something like this take you? A painting like this, where it's pretty cut and dry, this will take me probably about a month to get done. So I'll have this done by the end of August. However, a painting like the one that just got in or got by the first round of the show, the creek painting, that took me over a year to do. So it depends on the severity of the detail. But I approach them all the same way. You know what I mean? Let's see. I don't know if this is going to work. I think, oh, you know what I could do? Give me 2 seconds. Can I? Yeah, I'm going to swap out lenses on the big camera so that we can have a different camera option here. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Oh, look at you guys with your poop puns. Oh, I'm so proud of you guys. Oh, this is the right idea with this lens. Why didn't I think of that? So now we have that camera, but let's see what's going on over here. We have this camera too. Ha! Good. All right. So this might be too orange, but we'll figure it out. So this is the fun part about this, doing it this way. So with this, all I got to do is just kind of start putting in the sky. I'm not worried about clouds. I'm not worried about gazebos. I'm not doing anything. I'm just blocking in the sky. This is really a lot darker than I intended, but it's still going to work. The reason why, again, that I know it's going to work is because as I look at this transition, as I faded this up, I can't really see the little droplets of paint. If I could see those droplets of paint, those little microscopic, not microscopic, but real small atomization of paint, then this wouldn't have worked. I'd have to go over this again with a lighter color, but this is working out. And I also want to keep track of the reference photo, so there you go. You got a lot of light on this, but this is what we're going for. See that kind of dirty orange on the left-hand side? So that's what we're going for. Again, the only place it really shows is right here, but I'm going across the whole way. Roy, what is up, buddy? Brian, if I didn't say hi, Brian, I did say hi, right? I don't know. I'm losing my stuff. You also notice that I'm not worried about the horizon line. It doesn't have to be a hard edge. Again, if you want to do that, sorry about my head and my nose being in the way. I'm trying to look at the camera at the same time, so I know you guys are seeing it. If you wanted to block off the horizon, you could. I don't like to because I like that I'll have to fight against that edge right there. So I know it won't be a super hard edge when I'm done. It'll have this nice transition, this painterly transition, where if I mask that off, I'd have to fight that edge. And, you know, I run the risk that way of having this thing look, you know, very much like it's pieced together, and I don't want that. I think that's pretty good. Let's check it again. So there you go there. You guys, again, you're way overexposed. That is more what it's like. Yeah, I feel pretty good about that. Yep, I feel good about that. In fact, mine's probably a little bit darker than that, but that's okay. All right, so now you also notice that I haven't gone very far up into the blue because I don't want a bunch of orange up in here. That transition, I am going to add a little bit more just to kind of soften that edge a little bit. But I don't want this orange going all the way up into where the blue is. Again, it's that area where they're going to mix that's going to be the toughest part to control. What'll happen is if you mix two complementary colors, it forms a gray. In a sky like this, in a sunset, it's not going to be that bad. However, if you have a real dramatic sky where the colors are very strong on either side, you can get this weird band in the middle. This one's pretty subtle, so it's not going to be too crazy. But again, I don't want to take the chance and have it, you know, not really work out pretty well. Patrick, what is up, my friend? There we go. And there is Roy Johnson. Roy, I didn't see you jump on. Hello, Roy. I love Pat's suggestions too. That's awesome. All right, let's talk about that blue. Let's figure it out. Again, so we need a cooler blue, you know, something without green in it. So that rules out phthalo blue. And I'm going to show you now why, you know, kind of dealing with the same colors over and over again is going to be an advantage for you. We're going to do a little color experiment here. Not on the painting because that would suck. I'm going to put that aside for a second. But that's, yeah. See how smooth that is too? So that's right on the clay board. That's no priming or no prepping. I didn't even sand it. You could sand this again because there's enough of it on there. There's a thin layer of it. You could sand that. But you can't be real aggressive with it. But you can hit it with like 600 real lightly and then maybe Scotch-Brite. But I'm going to put that aside for a second because I need a piece of paper. And this is how easy it is to do this. So if you have a color, where did I put those? Where did I put them? Ah, this will work. Whatever, this will work. So just grab a piece of paper and you have you have your paint that you want to try to figure out. So here's Createx Wicked Blue. So a good way to do this, you can airbrush this, but sometimes that, takes too much time to load it into the brush. So you can just put a little bit on your finger, kind of get it where, in full strength by not pushing all the way down. But then as you drag it down, then you can push your finger down. And what that does is you get this kind of, lighter version of it, a more see-through version. And it's in the see-through version where you can see what it's going to do. So in this case, like I said, there's a little bit of green in that. So we're going to keep that as a maybe. Let's look at Phthalo Blue. This is the other one. So same thing, just put a little bit of drop. Again, if you want to airbrush this, it's going to work a little bit nicer for you because you get a nicer fade. But there's that, and I don't know if you can see the difference, but there's more green in Phthalo Blue, which is not what I want. Again, this Phthalo Blue is what I use if I want a real warm tropical color. So we know we don't want that, so we're going to look at some of the other blues. Now, what I got to say about this is the only way to find this out is to use them. And then once you find like a cool blue and a green blue or whatever you like, then you could stick with those. And you don't have to keep bouncing around. You don't have to worry about like, oh, what's this one going to do? What's that one going to do? You're going to know. Cobalt blue is usually my go-to like cooler sky color. So I'm going to try this one. This is Phthalo Blue, which is pretty thin, but. So hopefully, can you see the difference between these two? Let me put a little bit more of the strong stuff down here so you can see it. But see how green that is compared to that now? And then regular blue is actually a lot like cobalt blue, which is nice. This is just Wicked Blue. But like I said, cobalt blue and phthalo blue are the two that I use all the time. I have been using the daylight blue a lot too. This is kind of a cooler blue, but it's also a lot lighter. It's got more of, you don't have to add white. Well, you do have to add white to it, but you don't have to add as much white to it because it's lighter in general. But originally, I would use these two blues all the time for sky. So there's a greenish blue for more tropical feel, and then cobalt blue for more of a warmer feel. No, cobalt blue for a more grayish, cooler feel. So that's how you do it. And again, if I airbrush that out, you'd see that a lot better too, because the airbrush does a better job at atomizing that paint real thin. But you have to dirty up airbrushes, and we don't got time for that. So plus, I also knew what it was going to do before I did it. So there's that. Don't touch the painting with them fingers. Now, good point, honey. So I've got blue all over my hands. That's bad, but it's dry, so I'm okay now. But if that happens with Createx, it's really fun. All you need is a little bit. Actually, the blues have almost like dye in them, so they don't really come off as easy as some of the other colors. But you just grab this is rubbing alcohol, isopropyl rubbing alcohol. And for the most part, this breaks down the paint really well. Now, there's a lot of people that use rubbing alcohol as a reducer. I've never had good luck with using rubbing alcohol as a reducer, only because it does just that. It breaks the paint down instead of, it does make it thinner, but also, like I said, seems to separate the binder from the color, which is what allows you to clean with it. So I don't have real good luck with using it as a reducer, but I know some people really do have a lot of luck with it. So keep that in mind. All right. Glow-in-the-dark paint from Createx. Any suggestions how to use it? It depends on what the glow-in-the-dark paint is, Brian. If it's the UV, if it's clear, the idea is you just spray it over whatever you did, and then that part will glow in black light. It's not really glow-in-the-dark. It's blacklight paint unless they came out with something new. So, but yeah, that's what it is. It's a UV-like type of, it goes with the fluorescent colors. The fluorescent colors will also glow in UV, but that clear one, you just spray over, it's invisible. So you spray over something you want to glow, and then when you hit it with black light, it glows, no matter what color it is. So that's kind of cool. It glows like, bluish black light color. That's a good one. That's a good one, Cheese Grits. Patrick. All right, so let's do this. So the blue is the same way. Again, let's look at the reference. There's not a lot of blue in that. I mean, there is, but it's pretty subtle. But you also notice there's a lot of white in that. So that's, again, that's the way we're going to handle it. But this time I'm not going to go as heavy with the color as I did with that last one. Man, if we could get to clouds today, that would be amazing. So I got the white in here. This white is reduced. It's 1:1. So it's 1 part paint to 1 part 40-21. And it just makes it easier to deal with than to have the add reducer. It's, you know, as you go. And make sure I get the right one. I don't. That's Wicked Blue. That's the one. JC, what's up, buddy? All right, so let's try 1 drop of this because I think I already put some reducer in this. I'm a cheap bastard, so when I get down to the end of a bottle, like really the end of the bottle, I'll add reducer to the bottle. Not when it's halfway full. It's just down to the dregs. So, because I want to get all of it. So that is that. The red oxide I know is the same way. Yeah, so there's a nice pale blue. There might be some black in that, but I'm going to wait on that. 14 minutes of showtime. I am just killing it. All right, so I'm going to show you this one more time. Again, I'm ignoring the clouds. So I'm going to add the clouds in after because I hate the AI clouds. I mean, I like the kind of vibe, but that's not where they're going to be. It's almost like AI is like a little child. It's like, okay, clouds are in the sky, so they all go up the top, you know, and that's not how that's going to be. The way the clouds are going to be is they're going to almost balance the trees when I'm done. So you see that big tree over to the right. So again, yes, there'll be a big kind of a grouping of clouds to the left, but they won't be up in the corner like that. They'll be down a little bit. And then the other clouds will kind of trail off somewhere in the middle. But they'll like I said, they'll mimic, just reverse the landscape. All right. Guys are going. All right, let's see what we got. Same thing here. I'm going to start at the top again because that's the darkest or the most intense part of the blue. So I can't get into trouble up here. If it's too dark or, you know, if it needs to be a little bit lighter, I want to be able to find out up here. But so far, so good. And it's the same thing, you know, I add the white, one to give me control over it, but also to give me that super fine atomization that I need to, especially to make the transition between the orange and the blue. Now, if this was still coming out atomized, what I would do is I would add a little bit of 40-50 to it, and then I'd add not a bunch, but I'd add a lot more reducer to it, or more reducer to it. That reducer helps it thin out and, you know, makes it just flow a little bit more refined, I guess. Sorry, my head's always in the way. Wait, what happened? I missed it. Frugal. Yeah, frugal. Nah, it's definitely cheap. All right, if whatever I missed, let me know. So the other big thing, you know, we talk about a lot is, you know, blue shift and all that. So because I have to add a, you know, lighter cloud color over the, you know, the sky that's already in, you'd think you'd get some blue shift. The good news here is the top area where the sky is already blue. So getting shift there is not going to be a big deal. If I were to put some clouds down in here, I'd have to deal with it, which I might. But the clouds that are down there are going to be, sorry, I'm going to lower the exposure a little bit so you guys can see some of the blue going in. Astro. Oh, yeah, commercials. Yeah, sorry. That's the downside with YouTube. However, I love everything else about YouTube, so I apologize for the commercials, but all right, that feels good. The one thing I'm kind of wondering about, though, is what's going on above the trees. I have a feeling there's orange above the trees here, so let's take a look. Kind of, sort of. Yeah, kind of, sort of. So I was expecting the blue to come all the way down to the tree line, but there's some orange there too. I probably should have paid attention to that, but what could go wrong? The hell could go wrong? So let's do that. I know, Grumpy, I'm sorry. The camera's like right there, so you get that all the time. All right, so I've conveniently run out of blue, so I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to put some more orange in this. And because the colors were so easy to make, I can just jump back and know that I'll have it. It was just white, and a little bit of red oxide. So I'm going to add some white, and then I'm just going to do 1 drop of red oxide this time so I don't have it as strong. Again, this is watered down or reduced, so normally it's really chunky. But because I'm frugal, thanks Grumpy, yeah, there we go. That's much nicer. So that's a lot lighter than the other one, which is perfect because it's more like this color right in here. And that I can use across this part where these trees are. And I can also just blend it right across to where I left off. So this is also where using a smaller, like more condensed palette really helps you. I can get all kinds of crazy complex colors by mixing stuff. But when I need to keep it simple, like when I need to reproduce a color, by using the same, really a short palette, like not a lot of colors, it's easy to just jump back and grab the color I need because it's not mixed out of a billion colors, Or even worse, like say you bought like the entire set of Createx Wicked colors and you have like 10 different greens. You started this whole thing, like all the grass with one green, and then you ran out. It's so hard to mix that green, you know what I mean? So if you're mixing your own colors, you can always just, kind of deal with that. So. Wait, I got to ask one more time. Steve released a short on YouTube featuring my wall of Leahy. How do I properly tag you? Yeah, that's a good one. I don't know how that works. Steve, how do you tag on YouTube? Thank you, honey. I did see it this time. I don't know. I think caps for the win. I think you just maybe you do an @ I don't know. The reason why the grass is green because I don't water mine. Don't worry, I don't water ours here either. All right, so there you go. Now it's interesting because I have more white in the orange here. I'm going to start to get some blue shift here, but I'm not overly worried about that because I'm just going to kind of go over the whole thing. There, I feel good about that. And then you get this kind of neat angle here too, which is fun. All right, so let's jump back to the blue. Again, see there's this boundary right here. There's still white here. So that's what I'm kind of playing with. So I can avoid that weird gray. And that boundary will always be there. It's just I'm going to get as close as I can to those two colors touching without actually having them touch. Because trust me, if I ran that orange into that blue, it would be a band of gray in the middle of it. Now, if that happened, I'd just add a bunch of clouds, Or I'd repaint the whole thing, one of the two. Yeah, I'm going to have to do a little bit of homework on tagging someone. Yeah, you could try hashtag. You can also try the at symbol. Hat, and then my thing. There might be a way to tag within, but I've never done that. Kind of a newbie when it comes to that kind of stuff. Although I do have to get more into short form videos because that's what YouTube is trying to push. But I spend too much time doing this anyway. Content, I mean. All right, let's get back to the blue. So the blue now is going to be a little bit darker. So I'm going to put the same amount of white in, which is just the bottom of that cup. And then, I don't know, cobalt blue. I'll do 2 drops instead of 1. never mix your paint over your painting, because bad things happen all the time. But I love you guys and I want to show you what's going on, so what could go wrong? There you go. Incidentally, this is a bogus Michaels knockoff paintbrush. These are what I use to, mix and clean the airbrushes out. So they are nothing like, a good artist's brush. You can tell by the end of this thing got mangled after just, kind of messing with it a little bit. This is an acrylic painter's brush, or I guess you could use this for oils too. But yeah, so that's what I use for that. This one here, the other one that gets a lot of use, this one's a nicer brush. No, this is still crap too. This is Master's Touch. I don't know where I got this, but this is nice too for cleaning out airbrushes because it's just a round brush, so it fits right in the cup. There you go. There's your cleaning stuff. Life is a risk. Yeah, JC, but I don't want to be fixing all the risks. All right, so I got blue. Same deal here to test out this color. I'm going to start up top where I know it's really darker anyway, so this will give me a good feel for what this blue is going to do. And it isn't significantly changing that, so that makes me really happy. Because I didn't want something that was going to be super dark on the top, and then that's too much of a jump, Because again, let me jump back to this. This is what we're, sorry about my head. This is what we're going for, which is kind of a grayish, bluish color. I may not even go that gray. Maybe I will. I don't know. We'll see. See how I feel. But again, by sneaking up on it like this, you don't have to worry about like fixing it later. You know what I mean? Because it's like, oh, that's a huge chunk of paint right there. By sneaking up on it like this, you don't have to worry about fixing it, because it's much harder to, especially this, it's much harder to fix this kind of thing than it is like if I screw up when I'm painting in like uprights on the gazebo. That's easy. That's an easy fix. But this, I'd have to repaint the whole thing. You know what I mean? Because there is no way to really fix this gradual fade from one to another. Now the other thing too is, again, see how like now there's like this blue fade into orange. There's still that white transition here, but because I've got it really close and the value is very similar between the two, you don't see that transition. You don't see that. Again, if I got it a little bit closer, you start running the risk of having that gray appear. And it's ugly, you'll know it, and I've run out of blue. There we go. Marge is here. 2 minutes. I think this is probably a perfect time. I'm going to clean this brush out, and then we're going to get into, what we'll do is we'll get into the more subtle adjustments when we come back, but we'll give away a couple paintings, and then I'm happy with this. What I'll do is the next thing to do after I get the color of the sky in is I'll do the clouds. We're not going to probably do that tonight. If you guys are into it, and I'll probably still be working on it next week. We'll see where it is next week. And if there's something interesting like the grass or the trees or something, we'll do it again next week. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but there's a little speck of paint right there. Sometimes what you can do, which I can't right now, sometimes you can just, with a clean, dry finger, you can just kind of, knock that dust bit off, but that's not coming off. So anyway, we'll have to leave it. All right, let's give away a painting. I'm also going to move these so you can get better accurate. So this is more accurate to the color. Again, when you saw what I was doing here, again, here is the actual sky. And then here is where we're at right now. So kind of let that burn into your head for a second. And then that's where we're at right now. Now my orange is more severe, but I like that. Yeah, I like that. But the blue is good. I like it. So again, that's that. You know what we'll do? We might, I might lighten this a little bit. Maybe. Yeah, let's assume when we get back, let's assume this is wrong. This is too dark. It's not. I like it. I could leave it, but let's assume it's wrong. I'll show you how to fix it. All right. But for now, let's give away painting. That's more what it should be. But it's that. Though it's a little bit too dark. And I want it to glow, you know. And although, here's the other thing too. If I leave it as dark as I have it, when I put the sun in there in the gazebo, then it's really going to glow. If the sky's a little bit more intense and dark. I'm so conflicted right now. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Whatever. Let's go back. Let's look at paintings. There it is right there. That's what it looks like now. All right. This is what happens. This is why things don't get done fast. But it's okay. But it's also why things get done correctly. Or mostly. JC says, pick me. JC, were you on the list? I don't know. Let's look at the list. Where is the list? Here it is. No, JC, I think you already won this year. I don't know. Anyway, here is the list. So we have Brian Moore leads up the #1 spot. Angus, Ian, Kelly, Astro, Mike Manning, Sean from London Pen, Wayne, and Tone. They are your list people for tonight. And the paintings we got tonight is Wayne's 1955 Orange Bel Air, which is entitled Orange Colored Sky. Go listen to that. The Nat King Cole is my favorite version of that. Ian Hart's Supermarine Spitfire. I wanted both of these. This one I had to hold off on because I love painting cars and I want to do so much more on that. But again, it's so hard for me to paint cars as 543s because I want to go nuts on them. But I can't. All right. So that one's called Supermarine Spitfire. And finally, Tone's Creepy Clown, which is Bozo. And that's the Zombie Bozo. Again, the only thing I did to that didn't work. All right, the only thing I did to that was just zombie his eyes and run his mascara, and that was it. So let's give one of these away. Give me a second here to switch over to this and this. All right. Do I have 9? I think I had 9. Yes, 9 on that list. So here we go. Tonight, your winner is number 3. Does anyone remember? Oh! Yay! Guess what? Ian. You're off the list. Congratulations, Ian. Ian, you have so many 543s that I've done of yours. So you can pick that one. You can go on the website, Ian. I think there's got to be at least 3 or 4 other ones that you suggested. If you do want the Spitfire tonight, let me know. If not, all 3 of these or whatever's left will go up on the website right after. But congratulations, Ian. You are now off the list. So that's how it works. If you win, you are then ineligible to win again for the rest of the calendar year. All right. So there we go. Congratulations, Ian. That's awesome. Cool. All right. Now, back to this. Do we want to lighten this or not? Do we want to lighten this or not? I'm going to not lighten it only because, again, the setting sun is going to show up much better on that slightly more intense orange than it would if it was lighter. So that's what I'm going to go with. So with that said, we could start messing with clouds. That's fun. Let's do that. You can see how much more light these things throw. In case anyone's wondering, I think I've talked about this setup before. If you're getting into to painting. Having a good, color corrected bulb is super important. I love this whole company, but these things were like over the top, when I found these. This is a company, they're made by Ottlite, Ottlite. So all they do is color corrected bulbs, but these little gooseneck ones with the little clamp on them, with this Visionaire thing, they are so nice because I can literally put them anywhere I want. So I clamp them, you can't see the bar up above, but they're clamped on the bar up above, and I can slide them around, and move them wherever I need to be. They are the coolest thing. Yeah, Patrick. So I'm going to be able to put the points up for next week. There's a little bit of adjusting because the points, if there's a misspelling in the spreadsheet, it counts that misspelling as a new person. So I could do a little bit of cleanup. For instance, Honey's name. Honey is in the spreadsheet as Honey and Honey Rivera. So so I gotta condense that, which is really easy. I just gotta do that stuff. But right now, I'll tell you that Grumpy already passed the 80 point mark, so I'm gonna make that announcement. And Brian Moore is right behind him too. Brian probably will pass this week. And that point system, the way it works is all you do is just by interacting, by making a suggestion, or your super thanks or whatever, those you get points automatically for those. And when you hit 80 points, you get a painting. So it's really easy. Oh, aren't they awesome, Michael? Oh, you want the Spitfire? Nice. Yeah, cool, man. All right. So Ian, go to my website and send me a message with your shipping address, and I will get that out for you. I know, JC. JC, did you make a suggestion last week? Did I miss you? No, I'm sorry, Dan. It's Ott, Ottlite, not OCC like Orange County Choppers. If it was an Orange County Chopper light, then it wouldn't work. Oh, I said that, and it would be abusive to their children. All right. Anyway, so I said clouds, huh? If I do the clouds, I can't work on the sky anymore. So I got to be okay with where I'm at. So again, here's where the sky is right now. Yeah, all right. Again, if I have to think about it, the answer is don't mess with it. So you did not. Okay. Oh, Patrick, no, they're not. So to give you guys an idea, like I have a baby channel, but you guys are crazy active on my channel, which throws the YouTube algorithm off. They don't really know what to do with me because you guys are so like, commenting and the supers and all that. But even with that, for the ad revenue, my baby channel last month made $5, $5 whole dollars. Now you guys, your super thanks. I get obviously a bigger percentage, of that. But still, YouTube takes their cut of that too. But yeah, you guys all make that worth it. But yeah, no, I won't see significant ad revenue. I won't see significant ad revenue until, or if I get a huge channel like 100,000 subscribers, then you can start to see like, you get it's like more substantial, I guess. So no, I don't make any money off of that. But thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, you guys, you're doing the same thing you guys did on Facebook. Facebook didn't know what to do with my engagement because you guys were so active as you are here that Facebook didn't know what to do with it. Really, it made it look like my channel was a lot bigger than it was. And that's because I had such high engagement. So you guys, when I say all your comments and all your clicking the like buttons mean something, that really, really does. So yes, thank you. All right, so let's do clouds. So again, we have the goofy AI clouds, but I like the color and I like that backlit. At least AI knew to do that. So I'm going to use that kind of guide for it. As a template. I don't know what's going on with that rectangle over to the right, but again, that's AI. It just sucks, And then it put in that weird tree. That tree wasn't there up in the right-hand corner. But again, AI sucks. So yeah, we're not using that, but we're using kind of an idea. So getting clouds in. I don't want to draw right on this because, oh, you know what I can do though? Yeah, all right. There are two ways to do this. So I need to figure out where I want to put the clouds without committing to anything right off the bat. So there are two ways to do this. I have the photocopy here, but the photocopy has these clouds on here. But with it, I mean, I could still take, you know, my pencil here and kind of like figure out like roughly where the clouds are going to be and then take a look at it. I think I want the clouds to go behind this tree. That'll connect the tree, and it'll also, again, bring me back up into the painting. With a composition, you never want this thing right here. You never want anything jammed in the corner like that. The same thing with this weird rectangle that I was talking about, or these leaves up here. When you do that, your eye is dragged up to the corners, and that's not where you want someone's eye. You want it on the main thing. So these need to just enhance what's going on here. So I think if I just drag this main cloud like this, and then have a little one here, and then one that goes behind these trees, I think that's going to work out really well. Now that does two things. One, it breaks up the sky a little bit for me. And two, you notice where these clouds are? They're basically in that transition period, or that transition area, that white area that I'm trying to avoid having that gray. So if I did get a little bit too close and that turned gray, had that band, I had a chance to like mask that off a little bit with the clouds. So now that I really got an idea, and yeah, I do like that. I like the way the clouds are going to kind of pull you down into the tree, and then the tree will kind of drag you back into the gazebo. So that'll give you this kind of circular motion with your eyes. The one thing compositionally that I'm worried about is this concrete platform right here. There are two of them, right here and here. This is a pretty strong shape right here. The things I like about this is it draws you into the image. So you have this big object here on the ground that like pulls you into the gazebo. So that's all right. The one thing I don't like about it is very plain and blah. So that's a big thing to have in the foreground. The way I would deal with that, and you know, we'll talk, if I don't do this with you, you'll get the feel for it now. The way I would deal with this is, right now it's a little bit lighter than the grass, but when I paint this, I'm going to paint it value-wise almost identical to the grass, so that when you squint your eyes, you won't see the platform. You'll only see it because it'll be gray and the grass will be green. So that's how I would, you know, kind of lessen the impact of that. But I kind of do like the way that it, you know, gives it this kind of, you know, motion that way. So I'm not going to, I could remove it. I could just make it all grass. But when you do stuff like that, especially because this is the whole painting, the idea is that it's this gazebo. It's all about this gazebo because it's a special place. I don't want to make too many changes to it because then, you know, it's not going to be the gazebo anymore. So, so leaving it in is the right choice, but just lessening the impact of it. The other artistic things, let me jump back to this because it's easier to see. To the left there, there's a, I don't know if it's a dog or if it's a small cow, but there's a black shape right there, which I don't know what that is. I'm probably going to take that out. The bench will probably stay, and then that gray or dark thing kind of up higher near the landscape or the horizon in the distance is actually the town. It's like the town sign, like, yeah. So that's staying in. I don't know, I might leave a little dog in. If it was an actual dog, I would take it out. But if it's like a little sculpture thing, so I'll have to do a little bit of research on that to figure out what that is. But those are all things that, you know, you kind of make decisions as you go. Park trash can. Yeah, so Michael, that's a good point. If that is a trash can, then that comes out. That's a good thing to take out. You know, I don't necessarily want stuff like that. Let's get this focused. We'll start to get these clouds in and then I'll probably break because I know you guys are doing all kinds of things. Patrick, have a good night, man. Thanks for jumping in. All right, so yeah, we're going to get these clouds in. So I'm going to use my, where's that drawing I just had? since that was good. Because I need this drawing because I don't have the gazebo and everything in here. So I gotta do this kind of the same way. Because I want to get the clouds in the right spot. If I just wing it, you know, and I don't have the gazebo in there, I won't have any idea where this stuff goes. Now, obviously, if I drew everything in first, then I would have it, but in this method, I don't. So, same deal. Got the magnets in here. Again, I don't need to be exact on this. I just need to kind of give myself a little bit of something. I really want to keep the pencil line light here too. And with the clouds, I want to be on the inside of where I think the clouds might be ultimately. So it's better to make them smaller than to make them exact. Because if I make them exact, then I'll run the risk of having pencil lines everywhere. So I don't want that. There's the first one. Second one will be like around here. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be something. So when I'm done with the clouds, then I can put the trees in the you know, on the horizon, and it's done. You know what I mean? I don't have to worry about anything else. So there are my clouds. All right, so these clouds. This is the fun part. Hi, Marge. Oh, that's right. Marge is working on a mural at a local business, so she's been working hard on that. Which I'm sure she'll post pictures. If you're not following Stone Minnow, follow her. She'll, I'm sure you'll be able to see the pictures when she's done. All right, so again, I'll jump to this real quick. So the clouds have this really light yellow outline around them. So that's going to be the base. Again, I think back to front. So they're backlit, so the back side of that cloud is all lit up with that yellow, and the front part is that purpley gray. So we're going to go with that. So I'm going to draw them in with that color. So I'm going to use probably the Micron again. This is a Micron C because the primary color here is white. So I want to have a brush that can kind of handle that, and this brush does. And then my go-to yellow is golden yellow. So I'm going to add 1 drop of golden yellow, and that's probably going to be too much, but we'll figure it out as we go. Probably, I mean, a half a drop probably would have been better, but we'll see what happens. Yeah, that's way too yellow. So what I do there is kind of bite the bullet and then just add a bunch more white. I bite the bullet because I don't need this much paint, you know, but it's fine. Everything's fine. Here we go. Let's see what this does. This might, I don't know what this is going to do. You may be strong enough to cover the pencil or you risk erasing. That's a great question, honey. I'm not going to take the chance. Yeah, it might be, or I can. The good thing about, sorry, my head's in the way. The good thing about the clouds is I can make them whatever I want. So even though I have the pencil lines in here, I could go beyond the pencil lines and just cover them. Or the safer thing to do is grab your kneaded eraser and then just kind of tap the pencil lines so that they're almost invisible. Createx holds really, really well, but this transition is really, you know, this is really light amount of paint. So I don't want to go super aggressive because I can, you know, damage the paint. So it's more just like kind of tapping it and moving it out that way. Now you guys shouldn't be able to see it. I can still see it, but you guys shouldn't be able to see those lines. They're pretty faint now. Let me get you guys closer because this is more fun if you see it close up. And we may end up dropping the exposure a little bit too. It's going to be darker than it should be, but you should be able to see it better. Okay. All right. So this may still be too yellow, but we'll find out pretty quick. I do need to put on the glove of disaster, or disaster avoidance glove, because I'm going to have to put my hand right on this painting. and I don't want to have any kind of oils on transferred onto this. So test piece of paper first. That would work if I had these colors already painted on something else, but because I have blue and orange on here, if I did the test panel on white, it wouldn't really it would look just way too yellow anyway. But it's going to depend on what happens here on this. So we'll see. Yep, it's too yellow. I can tell right away, which is fine. So see if I can get this to spray out so you can see it. I don't know, can you see that? How yellow that is? What I want is white. So I think what I'm going to do, because that transition is pretty subtle anyway, I'm going to just use straight white. We'll see what that does. Because what I can do, if I do it in straight white, I can tint it after with yellow. Because I have orange here. The only problem with doing that is up here, if I tint this up here, it's going to turn green. So we'll mess with it and see what we can do. All right, so this is straight white, which will work a lot better as far as being able to see it. Now the fun part about this is because the inside of the clouds are that neat purpley steel grayish color, I don't have to paint the whole cloud. I just have to paint the outline with this white color. The other thing too is I got to make sure that the blue is going to be dark enough, which I think it is. But that's the other thing to kind of see as I go. If the white doesn't really stand out that well against the blue, you may want to adjust that too. Nice, Michael Jackson reference, yeah. No, then it would be sparkly. I should get a sparkly painting glove. But it can only be sparkly on the back. It couldn't be sparkly on this finger because that's the business side of it. So again, clouds are great. There's so many ways to do this. I could block this in with a paintbrush too, you know, and then adjust it with the airbrush. But I've always kind of just liked freehanding clouds with the airbrush. Clouds do have really sharp, like defined edges to them too. But with a good airbrush, you know, you can kind of get that. Where I find with the paintbrush, I end up having to fight getting back to the softness of it. So the airbrush kind of works better for me across the board when doing clouds. But again, you'll find your most comfortable method by messing around with it. Again, you may find that blocking them in with the paintbrush is a much better way to do it, and then just softening them with the airbrush. But I really should. I should have one that's like all crazy. But I go through them, and then I'd hate to throw the bedazzled one away. I'd have to keep it forever. So what I'm doing is I'm concentrating mostly on the edge, but eventually what I'll do is I will kind of backfill it like this once I get the edge set. So even though, you know, I won't go all the way into the body of the cloud because the body of the cloud is really dark, and I want to grab some of the color behind, like this blue. But for this part, you know, it's for the edge and the way it kind of fades and glows around the edge, this works out pretty well. And again, I'm concentrating on the edge of this big cloud. There will be some like little additional, you know, fluffy cloudlets around the outside edge, like right here. But I'll do those after as I kind of get things buttoned up. Let me do the top side of this so you can really see it. Although, yeah, you can see it. With these clouds, because the sun's below it, the top edge isn't going to have as much of a glow to it. It'll be like just really thin, but still has that sharpness to it. So, but this way, if I do the top side of it, you'll really see it. where the bottom side is much more subtle. The bottom side is subtle till I get the dark area in. And you can't, I mean, you really can't do these wrong. You know, you just kind of like let the paint come out. If the paint comes out too much, you just, you know, you just added a bigger little node on that cloud. It's not a big deal. In fact, the more random it is, the better, you know. Again, what I don't want up here is like really, really super soft. I do want to keep that kind of tight. I could add like shots of, you know, blurriness to it, but for the most part, I want this pretty tight. Again, and you know, I don't have to worry about, like if I said I want to keep this tighter than the bottom, if I do too much, when I go to backfill it with the dark gray color, I can just go right up to it and, you know, knock it back. So again, it's really hard to mess this up. And I'm just running along that pencil line that I have. Tony, have a great night. I just saw that people are saying goodbye to you. We're almost set here too, so I think you guys got a pretty good idea. What I might do, what I might do for next week's time lapse is I might just do the rest of the cloud. So I'll leave it here. So you guys saw all of it, but then when I do the rest of it, these other 3 clouds and the inside gray, I'll time lapse it so you can see the entire cloud process. But yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about that. Also, not that it makes huge difference, but it's like subconscious, you know, as you learn these rules. Odd numbers of things are always better than even number of things in a painting. Just adds more interest. So I have 3 clouds here, which is just natural. So if I had 4 clouds, it would feel too static, even though, you know, they're behind stuff. But anyway, that's it. So there you go. So that's what I got. Let me move these out of the way so you can really see them. But that's kind of what we're dealing with right now. There we go. So now you can kind of see them coming together. Again, the gazebo is roughly about here. And then we'll have 2 more clouds, and then those trees are kind of come in here. So yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll time lapse the rest of the clouds so you can see the whole thing. That'll be next week's time lapse. So if you're a member here, you know, I'll try to get that up as soon as I can. If not, you'll see that next Tuesday. And then if I know I'm going to still be working on this next week, if I'm down to the like grass or something, which I probably will be because the grass actually is going to take the longest of this painting, I'll show you how I do that too, because it's good to see that as well. That's what I got. All right, I'm going to switch to this one. This is why my head was in the way all the time, because I'm like this and I'm in the way, but that's what happens. So there you go. That's how I start these things, or it's one way that I start these things. Like I said, there's lots of different ways to kind of tackle it. It just depends on the image, and it depends on, you know, what's involved with it. Like the Island Creek painting, that creek painting, this has a lot of distance to it. This gazebo painting, you see the grass up front, but you also see way off in the distance. That creek painting, you were really close. Like you see the tree line, it's probably about 50 to 75 feet away from you, and then that's it. Everything is within that distance. So to do that painting, you almost treat everything all as one, you know. So it's still kind of back to front, but I was able to paint that pretty much from the top of the painting down. So again, it depends on the image, and that kind of determines how I attack it. The only thing I can say is, you know, again, you come up with one way for one painting, and then you apply that to another painting, and you find out that doesn't work. And, you know, you adjust, and that's how you come up with all these, you know, different ways to do it. So just stick with it, and, you know, that's half the fun, is trying to figure it out. So huge congrats to Ian. Thank you so much for the super chats. That's amazing, and all your comments. That's crazy. I love it. Don't forget to hit the thanks, or not the thanks, the like, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. You can make comments if you're subscribed, Or no, you can make comments if you're not subscribed. You can make comments if you have an account. But subscribe anyway. That's fun. And that's what I got. All right, so time-lapse Tuesday tomorrow. Go look at creepy clowns. Wednesday, we're going to be working on the Tokyo painting. I have a great soapbox for that, thanks to Brian. And then Monday, we'll be back. So thank you all. And I will catch you guys all next week. Have a great one. Oh, you get to look at the picture again.